Isle of Dogs recently hit Blu-ray, and I bought it. I threw it into my Blu-ray player and I sat down for my second viewing of the film. My first viewing in theaters was confusing and frustrating, so upon second watching I had hoped to find some clarity in it. But I didn't. I haven't seen everything he's done, but as it stands now, this is probably my least favorite Wes Anderson film that I've seen. And there's no question that he's a visual filmmaker and a master at what he does, and Isle of Dogs is no exception to that. This is a gorgeous movie to look at. The stop motion is detailed, it's expansive, and it's meticulously designed. Every shot of the movie is vibrant and dripping with effort and work and care and heart. It's just a beautiful movie, and it's clear that hundreds and thousands of care and love went into every frame of the movie. Even some shots that are only on screen for a few seconds are so detailed and so impressive to look at. And not only that, but there are some scenes, like the sushi scene in this movie, that are unlike anything I've seen before and are just so wildly impressive. And all of this is elevated by Alexander Desplat's stunning score and the sharp editing of the movie. However, it's with about everything else that I have frustrations with. Anderson normally tackles these awkward, quirky comedies with some serious themes in it, and Isle of Dogs is sort of this, minus the comedy. So let's just get into the first reason why Isle of Dogs is frustrating to me. Number one, the tone. Even though this is listed as a comedy on IMDb, I very rarely found myself laughing, especially towards the second half. In fact, this is a lot closer to a drama than a comedy. There's some great editing jokes here and there that are really funny.
A rancid apple core, 2 worm-eaten banana peels, a moldy rice cake, a dried-up pickle, tin of sardine bones, a pile of broken eggshells, an old smushed-up rotten gizzard with maggots all over it.
Okay, it's worth it.
But most of the comedy just falls completely on its face.
What happened to him?
Suicided. Hanged himself by his own leash.
Haha, get it? 'Cause he's a dog? No, humor is a tough thing to pin down, because it is so subjective. Everyone will find something different funny that someone else will probably not find funny at all. For example, there's some people out there that really love the Adam Sandler style of comedy, where people get punched, people say bad things, and there's some mildly racist humor. People find that funny. I think it's horrible. I think it's unbearable to sit through and completely the opposite of funny, but there are some people that find that stuff funny. And here in Isle of Dogs, I'm sure that the jokes in this will land a lot better for someone else. At the same time, there's this kind of serious drama to this movie that Anderson flip-flops between. He says, okay, I'm gonna have quirky comedy here and then serious drama here without any jokes. And towards the end, it kind of just becomes this serious drama. And the first half is kind of the quirky Anderson comedy stuff. So you've got these two different conflicting tones that make this movie kind of confusing to watch, because towards the end, when I wasn't laughing at all, I kept thinking, am I supposed to be laughing, or is this supposed to be serious? And in the first half, I was thinking the opposite. Am I supposed to be laughing, or is it supposed to be serious? Because I am laughing. It's a very odd experience, and it really does feel like Anderson wants to make something different, but because of his reputation, it's holding him back a little bit.
Wait a second. Before we attack each other and tear ourselves to shreds like a pack of maniacs, let's just open the sack first and see what's actually in it. It might not even be worth the trouble.
As
a gesture of public solidarity, Mayor Kobayashi is calling upon his assistant hatchet man, Major Domo, to furnish the personal bodyguard dog of the mayoral household, Spots Kobayashi, into the possession of the Committee for Canine Desaturation.
But humor only makes up a small part of this movie, and I realize that, so let's get into why the drama is as inconsistent as the humor. Number 2, exposition. The inconsistent drama mainly stems from the overbearing and constant exposition that berates the audience throughout the entire movie. And it isn't just a character telling another character something that the audience would need to know.
It may snow tonight.
Really? Thank you very much. Wow.
To whom it may concern.
She sees the future.
No. She understands TV.
Yep, I can see that. The exposition can range from this to a narrator telling the audience things straight out,
Canine saturation has reached epidemic proportions.
dogs talking directly to the camera,
I was the lead mascot for an undefeated high school baseball team. I lost all my spirit. I'm depressing.
or text appearing on screen to describe what something is. And sometimes, scenes can feature all of these things at once.
Canine saturation has reached epidemic proportions. An outbreak of snout fever rips through the city of Megasaki. Blizzards of infected fleas, worms, ticks, and lice menace the citizenship. Dog flu threatens to cross the species threshold and enter the human disease pool.
Obviously, you need exposition to help your audience get acquainted with the world or with the story that you're trying to tell, but I've never seen it taken to the extremes that this movie does. It's absolutely insane. Like, why do I need to know what this building is called and why this movie is set 20 years in the future?
The Japanese archipelago, 20 years in the future.
Why do I need to know what this thing is called? Why do I need to know what this thing is called? Why do I need to know what that is called? Why do I need to know what this thing is called? Why do I need to know what that thing is called? Why do I need to know why this thing is that? Why do I need to know what this is called? Why do I need to know what that is called? Why do I need to know what this is called? Why do I need to know what that is called? Why do I need to know what this is called? Do you get the idea? I mean, the first scene of the movie is an exposition dump that literally spells out what is going to happen in the movie for you. The first scene in the movie.
On the eve of total canine annihilation, a child warrior, sympathetic to the plight of the besieged underdog dogs, betrayed his species, beheaded the head of the Kobayashi clan, and pledged his sword with the following battle cry haiku.
Speaking of the plot, let's go into that a bit. Number 3, the plot. So there's an A story and a B story in this movie. The A story is about Atari, a young boy that flies to Trash Island, an island solely inhabited by dogs. Dogs with a type of flu called snout fever, or dog flu. And Atari's dog was the first dog ever banished there. So he flew out to the island in search of his dog, Spots. After crashing, he is rescued by a pack of dogs that travel with him on his hunt to find Spots. Add a little intrigue, add a little humor, add a little drama, and you'd have a perfectly simple movie where its gimmick would work and be far easier to execute. This gimmick we'll get into in a minute here. But we still have a whole B story to dive into. And this B story takes this perfectly simple, family-friendly, fun movie and turns it into an adult drama that kids will find completely boring. Okay, let's discuss the B plot of this movie now. The B plot of the movie is about Mayor Kobayashi, who is the uncle of Atari, who also wants to eradicate dogs. So he sends them to Trash Island, so he has to have dogs kill them, even though a scientist is going to all you get the idea. This is a mess. The B plot of the movie is a big mess. It's a convoluted mess. The B plot of this movie has so many scenes that are literally worthless.
As you know, we all hate dogs. Chairman Fujimoto-san, president of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, you secretly introduced mega quantities of infected fleas and contagious tick larvae into a metropolitan city center, creating an unprecedented animal disease outbreak. Thank you.
Oh, all right then. Why do I need to know that? I understand what Anderson's going for and what he's trying to say, but man, there are so many things to keep straight. There's so many plot threads to keep in line and so many characters' points of view to understand. There's 2 main plots in this movie, but then there's so many other threads going every which way that you have to understand in order to get the movie. If you miss one, then the movie doesn't make sense. There are just too many things to follow in the movie. There's too many things that this movie is trying to do all at once, and it just makes everything so convoluted and complicated for absolutely no reason.
Good work.
Number 4, the gimmick. So I'm sure you've noticed or heard by now that this movie prominently features Japanese actors who speak their native language and are rarely, if ever, translated.
これはあなたの個人用ボディーガードドッグ。彼はあなたの安全警護のためにこれからずーっとあなたをお守りいたします。
There are movies like Anomalisa where they have a strong gimmick that kind of boosts their story. In that movie, every single character outside of the two main characters are played by one guy.
Allow me to be the first to welcome you to Cincinnati, where the local time is 7:43 p.m. and the temperature is 68 degrees Fahrenheit.
Sorry, I grabbed your hand.
It's okay.
It's a reflex.
And they completely commit to that gimmick. The movie completely commits to the idea of everyone being one person. And it really fits in with the theme of that movie, and it makes the movie better because it completely commits to it. Here, Wes Anderson does not completely commit to his gimmick of the Japanese actors only speaking Japanese, because he has narrators talk over them. Sometimes he subtitles them. Sometimes he has little bars at the bottom of the screen scrolling, telling you what they're saying. And sometimes he just has little machines that literally translate and talk to the audience, telling you what they're saying. So my question is, why not just subtitle them? Why go through all of the extra steps and headache of animating other parts of the movie to subtitle the actors? Why can't you just subtitle them throughout the whole movie? I don't understand this choice. If your main audience for the movie doesn't understand the language that you have prominently set in this movie, why are you not subtitling them?
Watanabe 教授、我々は結節注射と機械振動を適用し実験動物の血液温度を低下したところ最高の結果を得ました。
If you want to have this gimmick where most of your characters are not translated at all, then you cannot have a movie be about a political drama. This is a political drama with backstabbings, with election days, with conspiracy theories, and all of this stuff you actually need to know, and you just don't. There are so many things about this movie that you need tons of information on, and the movie just sometimes doesn't give it to you, or it gives you too much via exposition. So it's this constant juggling act that the movie does with its own gimmick, where it's like, okay, we need to tell the audience about all of this thing that's happening. Okay, let's have a narrator that we can cut to that will just read off a page to the audience. Or, okay, let's have somebody narrate over the film and tell you what something is or what something is doing. Why do this? Why not just subtitle your actors? This doesn't make any sense to me. I just cannot comprehend why Wes Anderson made this decision. If you want to have this gimmick where the main audience of your movie won't understand what the characters are saying, you can do that with a simple story. There's a movie that came out a couple of years ago, whose title I'm forgetting, was all done in sign language. No one was subtitled, nothing was translated, and that was the gimmick of the movie. And I watched it, and I didn't understand what the characters were saying. But I understood what was happening in the movie because the plot was simple and easy to follow and visually easy to depict. Here, Wes Anderson has a really easy to follow story about a boy trying to find his dog, with some dogs that actually speak the main audience's language, English. So that would have been great. You could have had the gimmick in that story. But then he also tacks on another story about a big political scandal happening, and still you don't understand them. And then he goes to great lengths to translate them. So why not subtitle them? Or why not make the story simpler? This is just something I don't get, and it's frustrating. It's the most aggravating part of the movie, because it seems to want to do this, but then it just kind of doesn't. If you want a gimmick, you need to completely commit to it.
ちょっと言わせてもらうよ。恐ろしいことが起きたんだ。人間と犬の戦争になるよ。奴らが僕らに何したか見てみろよ。いい犬だ！
I wish somebody spoke his language.
Number 5, the characters. The characters in this movie are very poor. There is only one character with an arc in this movie, and that's Bryan Cranston's character, the Stray.
Sit.
Chief, sit!
I don't sit.
You're disobedient! Sit!
No.
This character is aggressive, he's mean, he bites people, and he just doesn't want to have anything to do with anyone. He's a lone wolf. But as he starts to get close to Atari, the boy, he kind of learns that having a master is nice, and he can channel his aggressive tendencies into protecting his master. And this character change is signified when Atari gives him a bath. And he goes from this gross, dirty dog into a nice, clean, almost brand new one. This character is great. This is the best part of the movie, and I really love Bryan Cranston's take on the character. His voice acting is great, the character is great, but it's the only character with an arc. The only other character that's even close to having an arc is Mayor Kobayashi. Throughout the entire movie, you're led to believe that he's this big, bad guy who has people killed, he covers up plots against him, and he does everything he can to maintain his power. He's essentially a dictator in a way.
心拍数気に入らないなこれで問題が解決したと思ってるよだが何が本当の問題か理解してないようだな
And he does all these evil, seedy things, but then at the end, he's just good.
Holy Moses!
He just turns good in like 1 second. At the end, he's facing a wall and his eyes are glowing with rage and he even blows smoke out of his nose. But then he has this quick vision and then he's just good. He just turns good in like 1 second. And I just don't get why. This is the most lazy writing I've seen in a Wes Anderson film to date. This is not a character arc. This is barely a character turn. Because there are no points in the movie where you think that he could become a good guy. Throughout the entire movie, he is just a villain until he's not at the very end. If you want to have this character become good, then you need to plant little seeds with the audience to make us think that, oh, he might be able to become good. He maybe reconsiders something he's done. Somebody pleads with him and it seems to shake him up a bit. You need to have these things. You need to have something that shows me that he may be able to become a good guy instead of just being evil the entire way through until he's not. That's not a character arc, that's just lazy writing.
His 5 dog abductors have been identified through the use of advanced tooth and tail recognition software. They will, of course, be captured and violently destroyed.
Aside from this, every other character is a complete flatline. Atari, who is supposedly our main character, is just a boy, who then becomes the mayor at the end. Tracy, the girl with conspiracy theories, has conspiracy theories. And then she's right about the conspiracy theories. There's some dogs that rescue Atari, and then they just disappear from the movie. There's a scientist man that develops a cure for dog flu, but then he just dies. All the characters in this movie, aside from Bryan Cranston's character, the Stray, are just awful, poorly written, lazily put together characters that I just do not care about at all. Bryan Cranston's the only character that is even remotely interesting. So anytime the movie's away from him, it is boring. The whole movie is boring if it's away from Bryan Cranston. I've seen this movie 3 times now, and I just cannot get into it. As much as I try, and as much as I want to really like it, I simply can't. I have a very visible to me disconnect with this movie. And that's not to say that it's a bad movie, it's not. It's visually gorgeous, the music is stunning, the editing is really sharp and oftentimes hilarious, and Bryan Cranston is a standout. He does a great job here. But it's with everything else that I disconnect with. I don't like the characters. I don't like the story. I think the pacing is off, and oftentimes these things make the movie just kind of boring.